Hello, my name's Maria. I'm a beef and sheep farmer from mid Wales, retired from my proper job in December 2024, and I'm living my best retired life, doing lots of knitting, a bit of grandmaing, and having a wonderful, wonderful time. I recommend retirement to everybody. This is my 7th podcast. I'm making these podcasts because I absolutely adore watching everybody else's, and I thought maybe some other knitters out there may actually enjoy watching my very amateurish podcast. So this podcast, number 7, is going to give you my end of February 2026 stash down results. So any acquisitions, anything that I've finished, then that will, once it's no longer a WIP, comes off my stash. And hopefully we'll see it working its way down. Although I've not got any particular desire to reduce my stash. I only built my stash up in 2025, the first year of my retirement, and I'm really enjoying knitting a wide variety of different yarns, a wide variety of new patterns, because it's such a joy to be able to experiment with new patterns, new wools, new ideas. I'm really, really loving this adventure of knitting. So just for fun, I thought, what's the oldest knitted item that I still own? I'm actually wearing it. So boys and girls, I knitted this when I was maybe 13, possibly 14. We'll assume it's 14. I'm now 61. So by my counting, I think that makes it 47 years old. Isn't that incredible? My arms haven't grown in 47 years. It will definitely be Wendy Aran wool, pure 100% wool, because back in the day, in 1977, 1978, I used to work in a hot dog hamburger van from the age of 12, actually, on a Saturday and a Sunday, for £2 a day's wages. For a full day, 12-hour day, I got £2. And then I would go to Ulverston, and in those days, when you wanted to buy wool, you picked your wool and you bought a couple of balls, and then they'd put the rest away, and every week or fortnight you'd go and buy another couple of balls as you could afford it. So this would have been not just one of the first things I knit, but one of the first things I spent my first ever earnings on. And the other thing I did was I saved up for 2 years so I could buy a push bike so I could cycle to work, because it was a good 2 or 3 mile walk to Reeks End Yard, where I worked, from the property I lived in, which was in Woodland, the next valley along. I even occasionally rode a little pony called Franco to work and tied it under a tree all day with a drink of water, and I don't think that would be allowed now. Anyway, so here we are. It was obviously a very simple knit, raglan construction. Having a mother and 2 grandmothers who knitted, they understood the importance of a good fit, and definitely it would have been a Wendy pattern, and Mum would have always said, do a raglan, it's really easy, you don't have to worry about fitting a sleeve, picking up stitches. And she was right. I've never ever had a raglan construction sweater that hasn't knitted me well. It's a really easy repeat, very, very simple Aran pattern. Crew neck, I'd have picked up the stitches. It would have had sewn sleeves. There was no knitting in the round then. And yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled to think this is 47 years old. And for a long time, probably until I was 22, 23, this will have been worn every single weekend. So that's 9 years of really hard wear. It has never once been depilled, because I didn't know what depilling was. It would have been washed in cold water and hung on a kitchen rack over an open fire to dry. 100% pure wool, because that's pretty much all we had in those days. Definitely Wendy wool, and it'd be a Wendy pattern as well, although couldn't guarantee that, but it's almost certain to be a Wendy pattern. And yeah, I absolutely love it. It didn't get much wear from being about 23, 24, because when I had babies, I put weight on. I also stopped doing any sport. I used to be a swimmer, and then I stopped when I moved to Wales. And I eventually got all the magnificent way up to 20 stone. So this would have probably been like a bracelet on me then. So I've just kept it in the airing cupboard as a memento of my childhood, because it was my first great knit, in the same way that I've kept my daughter's first shoe, because her first sentence, we speak Polish, or we did do then, we don't now. Her first language was Polish, and her first real sentence was "Jete moje buty," which is "Where are my boots?" She had a little pair of pink leather boots that she adored, and sure enough, I've still got one of them. And you just think, yeah, there's a few things you keep the whole of your life. So I'd be really interested to know, what is your oldest knit? I mean, if you can put a picture in the comments, that would be fabulous. I wonder if your oldest knit is pure wool or is it acrylic? It's interesting, isn't it? What actually stands the test of time? And the other thing I wonder is, I remember knitting this with great fondness, sitting by an open fire on a winter's evening with my mum, probably with a grandmother, watching Miss Marple, Joan Hickson on television on a weekend evening. And it was just this wonderful, cosy, safe, happy time of my life, which this memory of this sweater brings back all those lovely, lovely, happy memories. And it makes me ask myself, why have I not taught people, more little girls and boys, to knit? I really feel I've never shared my craft. I've never, recently I've had a goddaughter who sat here for 10 minutes trying to teach her to knit, but bless her, she was left-handed, and I tried previously to teach her and couldn't work out how to teach anyone left-handed knitting. And then we cracked on the idea of giving up and just trying to teach her right-handed knitting. And I think she was rather enjoyed it. But like all little sort of 10, 11-year-olds, she's wildly busy doing sport and after-school activities. But I really do think, that should be something I put on my to-do list, is to try and introduce more young people to knitting, because it's given me so much joy over the years. And maybe with all the anxiety and the stresses of modern life, just some quiet, slow crafting is perhaps what we could all do with a little bit more of. A bit like when I go for a walk with the dog in the morning, I try not to plug in the earbuds and just listen to the dawn chorus and acknowledge the fact it is dawn. And oh my gosh, the dawn chorus, that's another story. It is deafening at the moment. What are those birds on? It's only February. I mean, it's like mind-blowingly noisy. What could I say? Right, so I shall get on with the proper bit of the podcast now, which is what's been happening in February and where we are with my stash. Okay. Good morning. It's Friday the 13th. It's about 5:30 in the morning. I've done 2 checks and I'm just going to go out and do a big feed up and another check, but I want to get this Bleideag on to soak. So before I do, I thought I'd just show you it in its unblocked state. So the Bleideag, as I said, has got lots of shaping. Huge amounts of bust darts went into this. I knit size 9. I changed the pattern completely and originally free formed it with a geometric pattern, but finally I hit upon a much better plan, which was to steal the Saisu, blueberry, lingonberry format using the round shapes with the slightly different colour to enhance, and I'm extremely pleased with it. It's mimosa, cream, and this is brown, all in let loppy. Very unusually for me, I followed the pattern and I did the 3 needle bind off in the arms rather than the Kitchener. I much prefer the Kitchener, to be fair, but because the gauge on this is extremely loose, it's knit on a 5.5mm needle. I got gauge exactly, but the fabric is really, really loose, and it's not my usual let loppy fabric knit on a 4.5. I thought I'd better just do exactly what Isolda Teague recommended. I've already butchered her pattern enough. Look, she wouldn't recognise this. But yeah, as I said, it's got fantastic bust dart shaping. It's also got neck shaping on the back, some German short rows which pulls down the front. And yep, I'm absolutely thrilled to bits with it. That looks like, not sure, it's all right. I'm just checking, I thought there was a break in the wool. So yeah, I'll go and block it now, and then it will be ready to go to its future owner. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the colours have worked. I have a lot of problems getting the colours right. The minute I veer from the pattern designer's recommended colours, I can go down some very horrible routes. And when you've done all that work, it's not great, is it? If you look at it and can't bring yourself to wear it because it's such a dog's dinner. So there you go. I'm going to get back to my sheep shed, and this is going to go into a nice warm soaking. Bye-bye. So I've had a very quiet morning in my shed. So I decided to cast on the Connacht socks by Anne Tucker. I bought these as a special treat to myself with the discount voucher that Ruth, who loves to knit, negotiated. And it talks about it being a really easy, intuitive pattern. So I cast on the lovely rib. And yeah, no problem there. And then I start working up the leg and I'm doing the repeats and I'm thinking, this is horrendous. I have to count every row. It's a 6-row repeat and I can't see it and I don't like the look of it. And and the pattern is made in very, very, very dark wool. So I could not see the pattern. So I'm looking at it and doing it and going, no, this is just awful. I won't be knitting these again. So I get on the way up and I do the heel flap and the gusset and turn the heel. And I'm still thinking, it's amazing that this pattern is so awful when it's got such lovely write-up and such lovely feedback by the test knitters. So I go into the pattern, I look at the chart, I read it more carefully. The first 2 of the 6 rows were just the setup row. Then it's just the last 4 rows. It's a 4-row repeat, not a 6-row repeat. So no wonder it looks horrendous. So I'm going to do the pull out of shame and then I'm going to go to the gym and then I'm going to cook a winner chicken dinner for grandchildren. And it is Friday the 13th after all, so it is a fairly apt incident to happen today. But yeah, it's a long time since, no, actually it's not a long time. I did a similar mess up when I was test knitting the stone cutter where I used the main colour for the neck and it should have been the contrast. Yep, jolly good. So I shall get on with pulling this out back to the rib and then I'll start again after the gym and lunch. We live and learn, people. How very annoying, isn't it? Good morning, I'm back again. It's the end of February and I'm doing my end of month roundup, including the totals of how much of my stash I've used. And I thought I'd start with my last 2 finished objects, which you've not already seen. So the first of these is some Connacht, I think you say it, socks from the provinces of Ireland, pattern designed by Woollen Knots. And I was put onto this by the Ruth Who Loves to Knit podcast, who got us a discount on the patterns. So I bought 2 of these patterns, the Connacht socks and the Munster socks. I haven't tried the Munster socks yet. I'll save that for probably April or May. But this one, really beautiful pattern. You'll see earlier on in my video, I had a little mishap because I didn't read the pattern correctly. Had to rip one sock back. But anyway, all's well that ends well. I've now got 2 exactly matching socks. And the wool I used came from Stash and it was bought in a bundle, probably paid about £5 or £10 for it. It's the Verdant Griffon and it is Bugger, Be Mine colourway. It's got a nice touch of cashmere in it. Knits up beautifully, very spongy wool. It doesn't look like these would fit a size 6. When I was knitting them, I thought these are going to end up being children's socks. Fit me great, lots of stretch. I've not blocked them yet, probably won't. I'll probably just put them on my feet and wear them and enjoy them. I weighed these weighed 61 grams and I have 68 grams left. So moving straight on to works in progress. I have cast on an identical sock pair, just got going on them. And the reason I'm doing the identical pattern is because I know with this pattern, with this number of repeats, I was on 61 grams. So I'll probably do a couple more rounds of cable at the top, cuff at the top, or I might do 1 more repeat of the pattern to try and make sure I end up with exactly no yarn left at all. Or I might just bin 5 grams or something, very wasteful, but never mind. So there you go, that's my first finished object. I had a real funny false start with that because I didn't read the pattern. Read the pattern, Maria. Basic, isn't it? Yeah. And my next finished object is my last 12 cast-ons of 2026. And it's an Elizabeth Smith pattern. I haven't brought the pattern to the table, sorry. It is delightful. Elizabeth Smith's patterns are so well written, so clear, so easy to follow. I've knit size 6, which is I think a 54-inch chest. It's for a young lady. So you set off casting on the neck. No, you don't. You set off casting on the back, and then you do some German short rows. And then if you look at the detail, can you see the detail? That goes all the way down, and then again, all the way down each side of the body. The rib has got a very unusual feature. It's one round knit and then one round knit purl, and it gives this lovely feature which exactly matches the feature on the sides and on the raglan. I did this in mancholopi, which is unspun yarn held double with a strand of kid silk mohair in purple, and I am delighted. I had to do only one thing, just one teeny I haven't blocked this yet. One teeny tiny thing I did, which is because unspun yarn is, I mean, literally it just falls to pieces in your hand. So you knit it away merrily, and then it just breaks off. So by and large, I don't have much problems with it. You know, I twirl, I do this and twirl a few bits, and then I carry on knitting. But when you get to the underarm with this, you were working with the underarms, and you were also dealing with this lace effect. Now, this made it very vulnerable. Elizabeth Smith's patterns, she always gives you guidance on how to not have a hole there. But because the unspun is so fragile, and I don't know if you've ever sewn in ends with unspun, but by the time you've threaded your needle, it's fallen to pieces. So I actually did a little cheat, which is quite naughty, but you wouldn't know I'd done it. It's worked great. At the end of knitting it, I got some of the kid silk haze, and I just reinforced just these bottom areas where the lace met the sleeve joint in the underarm joint, and I just put a few little stitches in there just because I was concerned about the natural hole from the lace pattern being stressed by the armpit hole, and had no problem at all. It all worked great. It's exactly made to measure. I met gauge spot on perfectly. Elizabeth Smith and I must have very similar knitting gauge. So anyway, yeah, completely thrilled. I haven't blocked it. I do need to block these things. This will be blocked before I give it to the girl it's going to. She's a freshly qualified nurse, so this will keep her warm on her way to any shifts or wherever she's going off, not in uniform, doing her thing. I've known her since she was a baby. She's the most lovely knit-worthy young lady. She's just great kid, and I hope she likes it. She picked the wool and she picked the pattern, so hopefully she will, but if she doesn't, I'm sure she'll wear it out for a walk or doing whatever it is that people do. So I've got one last work in progress, which was a naughty cheeky cast on, if you like. If you remember, I knit the sea buckthorn sweater where I held double wool silk by Hertogana and vintage turquoise mohair. I loved the effect, the fabric it made, and I liked it so much. I figure I have got just about enough to try a pattern which is a free pattern on Ravelry, a really simple Tweedy Junior by Beata Jezek. Jezek, I'm not quite sure how you say that. Anyway, people who've knit this pattern love it. So I thought, yeah, give it a go. It's a free pattern. It's in 5 sizes. The biggest size is age 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. Is age 3 to 4. So I'm knitting the biggest size because I think, thanks, cheers, mate. I think, that's my Cocker Spaniel popping in to say hello. I think I'll have enough to do it. Anyway, you start off casting on the neck, 3.5mm needles. And then something I didn't like was she just refers you to a YouTube website to do 2 setup rows. I mean, really, come on. Shouldn't that be written in the pattern? You know, really. Anyway, never mind. So I didn't do that. I just cracked on, and there was a lot of German short rows at the back. Now that's something that I have never seen before. On the German short rows, as a rule, I would do the raglan increases on the knit side, and then I'd have a purl run back with no increase. So you keep the pattern of the increases for every second row. Not on this one. You do a raglan increase in the knit and then back on the purl. So fine, you know, but I'm not that impressed with the back of the German short rows where these double raglan increases are coming together. I think it's a bit untidy, but it's a free pattern and everybody's been delighted with it. All the comments on Ravelry are people saying, oh, it's absolutely wonderful. I've exactly met gauge, so that's really nice. And I like this knit stitch that's just, marking out the raglan. When I came to join the body, it didn't tell me whether this knit stitch went with the body or the sleeves. So it wasn't a problem. I just did some counting and double checked. All the right stitches were there. I was a bit worried that these 4 were actually not going to be included in the main stitch count, because it talks about the number of stitches, not including these 4. And then when you come to do the split for the body, these 4 magically reappear again in the numerical total. So it all worked out fine, but there is very little instruction in the pattern. If you were a new knitter, I would imagine you'd find this pattern really confusing. But I notice everybody who's knit it just really, really likes it. They've done things, they've put intarsia in, they've written babies' names on or crocheted names on the children. I mean, people have done lots of wonderful things with it and everybody seems to like it. So no doubt by the time I finished, I too will be a convert. The only comment on Ravelry is, in the pattern, it doesn't tell you the length of the sleeves. So if you didn't have a child in your house and you didn't know what length of sleeves you wanted to knit, or what length of sleeves a 3-4-year-old child would probably have, you could actually come pretty unstuck with that, because how long do you knit? As long as the body, longer, shorter, But I mean, every child's different anyway. Mine are built like units. They've got shoulders and, So, yeah, it's quite interesting. I wonder if some of it's lost in translation, but it reminds me a bit of very old-fashioned patterns where they just assumed you knew. And, vintage patterns, they just sort of give you the pattern in a shorthand as if everything in ink costs a fortune. So they put the least amount of information down that they can. So this is what I normally do. When I knit a big project, I usually knit the scraps up straight away as my next project so that I do not have scraps. I've only got as few as possible. So hence the second pair of socks and hence this. However, I did do with the sea buckthorn, it was a colourwork. So I've got these 2 colourwork pieces of wool left. And I'm almost certain, because this is a silk wool mix, it will make a lovely pair of socks. And I'm going to pop this in my sock project bag and try and get a couple of pairs of socks out of them. But I'm going to wait until I finish this, in case I've got some left over of this. And then I might do body, heels, cuffs, all different, just a mishmash pair of plain out socks for me. So that's where I'm at with that. I still love this fabric. Oh my gosh, love this fabric. It's a dream. So well done, Teague, for coming up with fabric which is so lovely to knit with. And it's new for me. I don't do a lot in this weight wool. I'm very much an Aran, Let Loppy girl. I don't do much in chunky and I don't do much in that other than socks. So that leads me nicely on to my February totals, my stash. I'm not going to go through all the many sections again, because there's about 15 of these categories of wool. I just thought I'd whiz you through my finished objects, which were February finished objects. So I started on 29,040 grams, 77,381 metres, and I had 457 skeins at the start of February. I knit the Katia into session socks and used all of that wool, which was 2 skeins gone. The sea buckthorn, the test knit for Eleanor Mortensen, I used 5.75 of the Teague and 8.25 of the vintage mohair. Then I did a coral Rowan sock yarn pair of socks where I used 50 grams and half a skein. Then the Bleideag sweater, that was a big colour work one in brown, the Isolda Teague sweater, where I changed the pattern and stole a sisu, is it loganberry, lingonberry, blueberry, one of those yoke patterns at the top, or I very much butchered it to fit the Bleideag numbers. I used 537 grams, 1174 metres, or 12 skeins of yarn. Then I did the Connacht socks and used 50 grams and half a skein. I did the Ramona, now that was unspun plates with manchalopi, and I used 502 grams in total, including the mohair. So I did 400 grams of unspun, 125 grams of mohair, kid silk haze. So altogether in February, I used 1,703 grams of yarn, 4,826 metres, and 38.5 skeins. So my March total is 27,337 grams, 72,555 metres, or 418.50 skeins. So, considering we started January with, 457 skeins, I think, I'm hoping to end under 400 maybe by the end of March. I do have a caveat, actually. I'm going away travelling tomorrow. I'm going off on a big adventure, house sitting in Florida. I won't get very much knitting done because I intend to do more travelling this time than sitting knitting. So on the train to Heathrow, I might take a Let Loppy project because it's round and round and round once I've done the rib and the pattern on the bottom. I really fancy doing one of the Sisu patterns. I've knit a child's in it. I like the neck, it's not ribbed, it's a nice low neck, so my lads will like that. They don't like anything up the neck. So yeah, I may take one of them. I need to decide today. I'm definitely not taking this because space is at a premium, and that's a little project that will take up more room than it's worth. I'd rather take a big bag of Let Loppy, a big project where I'm knitting in the round and I'm travelling. That suits me so much better. You just mindlessly people watch and knit. I don't want to do any thinking while I'm sat in an airport. So yeah, that's my February totals. We've finished our January lambing. The last two girls were not in lamb, so they've gone into a special pen for people who've pretended to be in lamb and not. They were in lamb when they were scanned, so they must have aborted, or something's happened, slipped the lambs along the way. So yeah, so far I've got no pet lambs in the shed. Everything's been wet fostered onto other mums who we only had one and lots of milk. But there's a couple due to come back in from the field where the mothers haven't quite got enough milk for them in the field and they're struggling. So I'm expecting some back in, but it's not going to be my problem for 3 weeks because I'm going to be away. And when I come back, it is going to be horrific. We have had a shocking scanning for main wave lambing, and we have a vast amount, almost 20% of our ewes are in lamb to triplets. This is a major, major disaster. So we've bought a mechanical lamb feeder because I worked out I needed 100 hours a day to bottle feed the pet lambs that I'm likely to have. By no stretch of the imagination is there 100 hours in any one given day. So yeah, it's going to be a bit grim, to be honest. But anyway, it is what it is. We can't turn the clock back. It's to do with the weather that we had last summer, and it just is how it is. We've also got the similar problem with our what we call first-time lambers. We call them hogs. Everyone's got a different name for them. So these are girls that were born in 2025. They're the big girls, so they were put to the ram. They should all be in lamb to a single, and the vast majority, again, are in lamb to twins. And there is no way that those little hogs are going to rear two. So they're going to have one taken off them and put on the machine as well, which is, again, a huge amount of work. Yeah, but there's no point turning them out with two and then finding one dead on the field or two dead on the field or the ewe dead on the field. So sometimes in farming, we've got to make decisions which are more work for us and really tough and not ideal, but it is a consequence of the weather we had in 2025. So let's hope. We've had a rotten, horrible start to 2026. Most of my January lambers are still in the shed with their lambs. We just cannot turn them out. It's so wet. The ones that we have turned out because we ran out of space, they're the ones where the mothers are, not all of them, but some of the mothers are struggling, and we're going to have to bring the odd lamb back in. And they'll then become bottle lambs because, you know, just there's nothing now to put them under. Okay, so that's the end of my February roundup and my farming tale of woe. I don't know if you've noticed, but my little Cocker Spaniel is here keeping me company. She's telling me it's time for us to go on a WALK, and she's absolutely right, it is. But I just thought while the house was quiet, I'd update you with my end of February. And hopefully next time I see you, it will be probably the 3rd week in March, something like that. So have a great spring, everyone. Bye-bye. So I'm showing you some video footage of a lovely day out that my friend Denise and I had when we recently had an errand to run in Newcastle Emlyn. So we called into their wool shop and had a lovely browse. There was lots of very beautiful wool, some acrylic, some very rustic, a lovely selection of rowan. I was really impressed that I managed to resist purchasing anything. But I've got so much on my needles and so many projects backed up that even I couldn't justify spending money. But it really was a treat to see such a really delightful wool shop. We then went on to the Woollen Mill Museum and had a lovely lunch there. And I'll show some footage of that at the end of this video.
I'm sure you can also just